Good evening, everyone. Tonight's show is all about the Immigration and Asylum Bill. And before we get going, I just want to have the Labour Party members. We've got Labour Party members in, yeah? Because what I want to do is, in the next kind of like, however long this takes, it'll be about 45 minutes, I'm going to try and persuade you to put your card in here. All right? I'm going to try and persuade you to throw away your card and I'll cut them up for you. OK? That's what I'm going to do, because the party of which you are a member of, which is now in government, is about to bring in a bill that will apply to people who are running away from torture, rape, murder of their families, persecution. It's going to remove asylum seekers from most of the Housing Act, so they have no protection, they can just be kicked out. It is going to force asylum seekers to be made destitute by the state, to stigmatise them, and to live below the poverty line. I'm sure you don't agree with that. So, where do we start? You start with any sort of discussion on immigration and stuff like that. You start with the concept of Britishness. You know, that is involved somewhere. And I'm very proud to be British at times. You know, sort of Pinochet gets arrested. Yes! The weird thing is the concept of Britishness, because you often go, I'm British, just pure British. Well, no, you're not pure British, because we've been invaded by Celts, Vikings, Normans and Romans. So if you're saying I'm pure British, what you're saying is I'm some kind of wop, spick, eye-tie, frog, dago, dane, bastard, porn star, paddy mick cocktail with a twist of Jew bastard, possibly. You know, we're a mongrel nation, and I'm proud of that. But it's weird, for bigots and racists, there's no logic. And the ones that I love are, all right, they might be odd up, but why do they have to come here? And what I like to do, I like to look at them and say, well, there's a couple of reasons, possibly. Firstly, because legally and morally we have a duty to protect people fleeing persecution, and Britain's quite a hard place to get into, so they must be very desperate. Plus, added into that is the fact that there are bastards like you all over the world going, why do they have to come over here? So there's either that reason, or they're doing it to personally annoy you. All the refugees in the world had a great big meeting, circulated your photograph, said, let's get him. And then you get the kind of, yeah, but why should I pay my money so they should take my money? Well, asylum seekers aren't allowed to work. Why should it be my money? And the weird thing is, people who think that, why should I give them my money? I feel sorry for them, because they have a genuine belief that if the government kicked out all refugees and asylum seekers, saving millions of pounds, that they would see some of it. Ding dong, hello, council, kicked out the refugees, just come to fix your grand's ball cock and here's a gold ingot. Off you go. In Kosovo, we kind of think, oh, well, we're doing all right, we're off to a slow start, but we're doing okay. And I just want to show you this bit. We met up with Anne Clwyd, the MP, who went to Macedonia, and she talked to people from the UN, and they're dishing out forms to refugees. And the forms were about where you could go and how you might get there.
I asked the UNHCR people on the spot, and they said, well, every country, every European Union country, plus the United States, have actually said how many refugees they're taking. They've said what their quota is for each country. But the United Kingdom hasn't given us a quota, so they're not down on the form of countries the refugees can tick. So when I came back to the UK, obviously I started asking questions about it, because I assumed our policy was different. And then I was told that it was an administrative error.
It's also weird, because we got this report from a French journalist who went to Macedonia and was shown an internal United Nations High Commission for Refugees document. And that document detailed advice to aid workers, telling them what countries wanted which specific type of refugees. And in it, this is roughly what it's saying, is the Israelis want children of high intelligence, which is a bit odd. You've just seen your dad shot off a tractor and your house blown up. Come on in, there's an oral exam, then a multiple choice. That's kind of weird. The Americans don't want people with HIV or AIDS. The Australians don't want medical cases. Britain does want medical cases, but only if they're single, because families tend to settle. And you suddenly think, excuse me, isn't this cleansing in another name here? This is very, very weird. Now, then you think, well, we're doing all right by them, aren't we? We're accepting thousands. Remember a month ago, the war was a month in, and Britain had agreed to accept 161 refugees. Thousands pouring over the border, and we've said, we'll have 161. NATO have fucking killed more than that. And we'll have 161. And then it kind of bumped up a bit. It said, no, we'll have a few thousand, it's all right. Because Tony went over there. And there's people going, Tony, Tony! And the press are saying, look at the adulation. No, it's desperation. You know, you then look at the Kosovans who came before, or you look at the other people who are fleeing persecution, the other asylum seekers. And we thought, right, we're going to go and try and find out about the bill. We went into Parliament, right, to visit the committee stage, because they discussed the bill in committee stage, and the public are allowed to watch. And the thing they were talking about when I got there was they were talking about making asylum seekers sell their assets before they could claim any benefit. Right? That means if you're a single bloke and you've got over 200 quid worth of assets, you've got to pawn them, live off them, before they'll give you any benefit. And I'm sitting looking round the committee room. Half the Labour people who are there to scrutinise the bill and have chosen to be on the committee are nodding off. There's a bloke writing letters, a Labour MP writing letters. And I thought, this is probably what it's been like the world over. Adolf Hitler having a meeting about the final solution, and in the corner, some bloke, 3 down. Oh, Guillemot. There's this banality of evil. And Diane Abbott, the MP, stood up and said, is the Minister for Immigration, Mike O'Brien, is he telling me that we are going to force asylum seekers to sell their jewellery before they can get assistance from the state? Mike O'Brien stands up and says, that is just what we intend to do.
They have to strip off their rings and jewellery and pawn it before they can get any help whatsoever, and the help will just be food vouchers. You know, if Michael Howard had suggested this, the Labour Party, Mike O'Brien himself, and the Liberal press would have been screaming from the rooftops. But New Labour does it, and everyone is curiously silent.
So I waited outside. I thought, I'm going to get Mike O'Brien, Immigration Minister. So O'Brien comes out, hello, I'm Mark Thomas from Channel 4, and he's off down the corridor doing that kind of Olympic walk. The week afterwards, I went into the committee again, and this time I went in with this lady here who's rather lovely, and her name's Bee Green. Hello there, lovely to have you. And Bee came from Nazi Germany in '38 on the Kinder transport.
After the Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass in November '38, Jews were in dire straits in German-occupied territory, and they wanted more Jews to be allowed to come into the country. And a little bit like today, the answer was no. But they persevered and said, well, what about children?
So you're a refugee from Hitler's Nazi
Yes,
Germany?
I was a refugee from Hitler's Germany, yes.
And we went in to see Mike O'Brien, and Mike O'Brien comes out of the committee. We were waiting for him outside. He comes out, hello, Mr. O'Brien, I'd like you to meet Bee Green. And he just went, hello, Bee. Off down, didn't he? He was straight down the corridor, and he's doing this kind of head down to sort of like avoid the wind resistance, kind of like this. And I'm after him, and you couldn't keep up. He was just pelting off. I was chasing him going, I just wondered if you'd like to talk to Bee Green, because she's a refugee, and she's got one thing she wants to say to you. And I'm sure she does, Mark. I admire you for trying. I really do. Well done. Lovely to see you again. I admire you for trying. You're in a private area now, Mark. You can't come here. Bye-bye. And I just thought, a democratically elected fucking MP going, they knights can't get me. You know, Bee didn't get to see him. But we're going to show you what Bee Green wanted to say to Mr. O'Brien.
I would have loved to be able to tell him what it's actually like to be a refugee. It's wonderful in a way that you cannot imagine it, because you've lived such a normal life. But if somebody can come and tell you, nobody leaves their homeland, their bit of earth, willingly. It's a trauma. You need to be regarded like a human being. You need to be given some dignity, not just given food coupons and referred to like these people. It's very demoralizing on top of the pain that was suffered before.